Park Do-yoon had been working on the spaceship Horizon's Edge for 3 months. He was a technician. His job was to fix things when they broke. The ship was big and old, and things broke all the time. He did not mind the work. What he minded were the narrow corridors. The corridors were built for aliens. Tall aliens, thin aliens, aliens who moved like water flowing through pipes. Do-hyun was none of these things. He was a human man of average height with shoulders that bumped into walls and feet that tripped over floor panels. Every day felt like an obstacle course. The ship carried cargo between star systems. It also carried a crew of 37 beings from 12 different species. Do-hyun was one of only 3 humans on board. The others were Captain Bora, a strict woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, and Ji-woo, a young engineer who laughed at Do-hyun's misfortunes more than he appreciated. On the day everything changed, Do-hyun was running late. A coolant pipe had burst in Sector 7. Coolant was important. Without it, the engines would overheat. Overheated engines meant explosions. Explosions meant death. So Do-hyun ran through the corridors with his tool belt clanging against his hip. He turned a corner too fast. The ship shook. This happened sometimes when they passed through asteroid fields. The floor tilted left, then right. Do-hyun lost his balance. His arms went wide, searching for something to hold. His body pitched forward. His hand hit something soft. Time seemed to stop. Do-hyun's brain slowly processed what had happened. His palm was pressed against something warm and curved. He looked up. Standing in front of him was the most beautiful alien he had ever seen. She was tall, almost 2 meters, with skin the color of moonlight on water, silver and blue shifting as she moved. Her eyes were large and violet, like flowers from a dream. Her hair fell past her shoulders in waves of pale white. She was Yuna. Her full name was Yunathira, but she had told everyone to call her Yuna because humans could not pronounce Valorian names properly. She was the ship's cultural liaison officer. Her job was to help different species understand each other. Right now, Do-hyun's hand was on her bottom. He pulled his hand back like he had touched fire. His face turned red, then redder. He could feel heat spreading from his cheeks to his ears to his neck. He opened his mouth to speak, but only strange sounds came out. The ship, it moved and my hand, I didn't mean to. Yuna turned slowly. She moved like a dancer, graceful and smooth. Her violet eyes studied him with curiosity. She did not look angry. She looked interested. That was unexpected, she said. Her voice was like music, soft and flowing with strange rhythms. I am so sorry, Do-hyun finally managed to say. It was an accident, a complete accident. The ship shook and I fell and my hand just... I would never... I'm not the kind of person who... He was rambling. He knew he was rambling. He could not stop. Yuna tilted her head to one side. A small smile appeared on her lips. It was not an angry smile. It was not an embarrassed smile. It was the smile of someone who had just discovered something fascinating. I like that, she said. Do-hyun's brain stopped working. What? Do it again, human. What? Yuna stepped closer. She was so tall that Do-hyun had to look up at her. This close, he could see tiny sparkles in her skin, like stars trapped beneath the surface. She smelled like rain and flowers he could not name. Your species has such interesting greeting customs, she said. Is this how humans show respect? By touching this part of the body? No! The word came out louder than Do-hyun intended. Several crew members walking past turned to look. He lowered his voice. No, that is not... Humans do not greet each other like that. At all. Ever. Then why did you do it? Because I fell. The ship moved and I lost my balance. Ah, Yuna nodded slowly, but she did not look convinced. So it was an accident. Yes, a complete accident. How disappointing. She smiled again, and Do-hyun felt his heart do something strange in his chest. I thought perhaps I had finally discovered a human custom worth studying. There are many human customs worth studying, Do-hyun said quickly. Handshakes, bowing, waving, all very interesting. None of them involve touching that area. Yuna leaned closer. Do-hyun pressed his back against the corridor wall. There was nowhere else to go. Her violet eyes seemed to look right through him. You are very red, she observed. Is this also a human custom? It's called blushing. It happens when we're embarrassed. Fascinating. What causes embarrassment? Situations like this one. I see. She made a mental note, her eyes briefly looking away as if storing information. And this blushing response, is it always this intense? It varies. Yours seems very intense. Please stop studying me. The ship's intercom crackled to life. A mechanical voice filled the corridor. Park Do-yun to engineering. Park Do-yun, report to engineering immediately. The coolant leak is getting worse. Do-yun had never been so grateful to hear about a coolant leak. He pushed himself away from the wall and sidestepped around Yuna. I have to go, he said. Coolant leak, very important. Explosions if I don't fix it. Of course. Yuna stepped aside to let him pass. But as he hurried down the corridor, she called after him. Do-yun. He stopped and turned. Yes? I would like to learn more about human customs. Perhaps you could teach me? Maybe, I have to go fix the leak. He ran, actually ran, like a coward fleeing from battle. Behind him he could hear Yuna laughing. It was a pleasant sound, light and musical, but it made his face burn even hotter. The coolant leak took 3 hours to fix. The whole time, Do-yun could not stop thinking about violet eyes and silver blue skin. He could not stop feeling the ghost of warmth on his palm. He could not stop hearing those words in his head. I like that. Do it again, human. What did that even mean? Was she joking? Was she serious? Did Valorians have a different sense of humor? He did not know. He had read the basic information about Valorians when he joined the crew. They were an ancient species. They lived for hundreds of years. They valued logic and culture and political alliances. Nothing in the information packet said anything about them asking humans to touch their bottoms. That night, Do-yun lay in his small cabin and stared at the ceiling. The stars outside his window moved slowly as the ship traveled through space. He should sleep. He had an early shift tomorrow, but every time he closed his eyes, he saw violet eyes looking at him with curiosity. His communicator buzzed. A message from Jiwoo. Heard you had an interesting encounter in Corridor 7. The whole ship is talking about it. Do-yun groaned and covered his face with his pillow. This was going to be a long journey. The next 2 weeks were the strangest of Do-hyun's life. Yuna was everywhere. Not in a creepy way, not following him through dark corridors or appearing in his cabin at night. But somehow, wherever Do-yun went, she was already there, waiting, watching, ready with questions. It started in the mess hall. The mess hall was where the crew ate their meals. Long tables filled the room. Different species sat in different areas because they ate different foods. Some ate meat, some ate plants, some ate things that glowed in the dark. Do-yun preferred not to look too closely at what others were eating. He had a usual table, a small one in the corner, near the window that showed the stars. He ate alone most of the time. It was peaceful. On the third day after the incident, Yuna was sitting at his table. She had a datapad in front of her. Her fingers moved across the screen, taking notes. When Do-hyun approached with his food tray, she looked up and smiled. Good morning, Do-hyun. Please sit. I have questions. He thought about finding another table, but all the other tables were full, and running away again would look strange. So he sat down across from her and started eating his breakfast. What questions? He asked between bites of toast. Many questions. About humans. She tapped her datapad. First, why do humans consume caffeine? Do-hyun looked at his coffee cup. Because it wakes us up. But caffeine is a mild poison. It affects your nervous system. Most species avoid it. We like how it makes us feel alert. You poison yourselves to feel more awake? When you say it like that, it sounds bad. Yuna made a note. Fascinating. Humans willingly consume toxins for temporary benefits. This explains much about your species. Do-hyun was not sure he liked being explained. The questions continued. Why did humans laugh when they were nervous? Why did they say, I'm fine, when they clearly were not fine? Why did they need so much sleep? Why did they form attachments to objects like clothing and tools? Do-hyun answered as best he could. Some questions were easy, some were hard. Some made him think about things he had never considered before. Why is your face changing color again? Yuna asked on the 5th day. Do-hyun touched his cheek. It was warm. Because you're sitting very close. She was. At some point during their conversation, She had moved from across the table to beside him. Their shoulders were almost touching. Does physical proximity trigger the blushing response? Sometimes. Interesting. She moved even closer. And now? Yuna, please. She leaned back, looking satisfied. Human responses to proximity are very sensitive. I must record this. The crew noticed what was happening. Of course they did. 37 beings on a single ship, traveling through space for months at a time. Everyone noticed everything. Jiwoo found it hilarious. She's studying you like a science project, Jiwoo said one day in the engineering bay. She was fixing a broken control panel. Doyun was helping her, mostly to hide from Yuna. I know. It's adorable. It's embarrassing. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. Jiwoo grinned. She asked me about human mating rituals yesterday. Doyun dropped his wrench. She what? Wanted to know how humans choose partners. I told her we usually start by accidentally touching their butts in corridors. I hate you. You love me. I'm your only friend on this ship. I'm reconsidering that friendship. But Jiwoo had a point. Despite his embarrassment, Do-hyun found himself looking forward to Yuna's questions. She was genuinely curious, not mocking or cruel. She wanted to understand humans because she found them interesting. When was the last time anyone had found Do-hyun interesting? The answer was never. The answer was absolutely never. One evening, Do-hyun was eating dinner alone when Yuna appeared again. This time, she did not have her data pad. She simply sat across from him and watched him eat. No questions tonight? He asked. I have one question, but it is personal. Okay. Why are you here? On this ship? Away from Earth? Do-hyun put down his fork. He stared at his food for a moment, gathering his thoughts. I wanted to see the universe, he said finally. Growing up, I always looked at the stars and wondered what was out there. When the opportunity came to work on a cargo ship, I took it. You left your home planet for curiosity? Yes. Your family? Your friends? I have a friend back home, Taiho. We talk sometimes through holographic calls. My parents, he paused. They wanted me to get a stable job, work in an office, get married, have children, the usual path. But you chose differently. I chose differently. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she did something unexpected. She reached across the table and took his hand. Her fingers were cool against his skin, smooth and soft. Do-hyun's heart began beating faster. He could feel his face getting warm again. Your hands are very warm, Yuna observed. Human body temperature is higher than Valorian body temperature. Is that why you feel cool? Yes, we find hot environments uncomfortable. Your normal body heat is interesting to us. She turned his hand over, examining his palm. You have lines on your skin. Everyone has them. Not Valorians. Our skin is smooth. She traced one of the lines with her fingertip. Some humans believe these lines tell the future. Is this true? It's superstition, not based on science, but some humans believe it anyway. Some do. Fascinating. Humans hold beliefs without evidence, and yet your species has achieved so much. She looked up at him with those violet eyes. You are a contradiction, Do-hyun. Your species is a contradiction. Is that good or bad? I do not know yet, she smiled. That is what makes you interesting. Around them, the mess hall continued its usual noise. Aliens talked and ate and laughed. But for a moment, Do-hyun felt like they were the only two beings in the room. Can I ask you a question? He said. Of course. Why are you really interested in humans? There are hundreds of species in the galaxy. Why study us? Yuna's smile faded slightly. She looked down at their joined hands, then out the window at the passing stars. Because you are free, she said quietly. What do you mean? Humans make choices based on emotion, on desire, on curiosity. You left your planet because you wanted to see the stars. You chose your own path instead of the one your parents wanted. She paused. Valorians do not have that freedom. Why not? She pulled her hand back and stood up. Her expression was strange, sad and distant. That is a question for another day, she said. Good night, Do-hyun. Thank you for answering my questions. She walked away before he could respond. Do-hyun watched her go, feeling confused and curious, and something else. Something warm in his chest that he could not name. Later that night, he called Taiho through the holographic communicator. "There's this alien woman," Do-hyun said. Taiho's holographic face grinned. "Tell me everything." Do-hyun did. He told Taiho about the corridor incident, about the questions, about Yuna's curiosity and her cool fingers, and the sadness in her eyes when she talked about freedom. "Sounds like you have a crush," Taiho said. "I don't have a crush. You described her skin as moonlight on water." "That's just accurate description." "Sure it is," Taiho laughed. "Be careful, Do-hyun. Alien women are probably complicated. Everything about space is complicated. That's why I stayed on Earth." Taiho raised a drink in a mock toast. "Good luck with your alien girl." Do-hyun ended the call and lay back on his bed. Outside his window, the stars continued their eternal dance. He was not developing feelings for Yuna. That would be ridiculous. She was an alien, a Valorian cultural liaison officer, studying humans for academic purposes. He was just a technician who fixed broken pipes. Nothing could ever happen between them. He repeated this to himself until he fell asleep. He was not very convincing. 3 weeks passed. Do-hyun and Yuna fell into a routine. Every morning they met in the mess hall for breakfast. Yuna would ask questions about human customs. Do-hyun would answer while eating his toast and drinking his coffee. Sometimes Ji-woo joined them, adding her own explanations and teasing Do-hyun about his red face. Every evening, they met on the observation deck. This was Do-hyun's favorite place on the ship, a large room with windows that curved around 3 walls, showing the endless black of space dotted with stars. They would sit on the bench in the center and talk, sometimes about humans, sometimes about Valorians, sometimes about nothing at all. Do-hyun learned many things about Yuna during these talks. He learned that Valorians live for 500 years on average. Yuna was 93, which made her young by Valorian standards, equivalent to a human in their late 20s. He learned that Valorians valued logic above emotion. They believed feelings were unreliable. Decisions should be made with careful thought, not impulse. He learned that Valorian society was organized into noble houses. Each house had power and influence. Marriages between houses were strategic, designed to create alliances and increase power. He learned that Yuna was the daughter of High Ambassador Yunathikara, one of the most powerful Valorians in the galaxy. He learned that she did not want to talk about her father. "Why did you join this ship?" Do-hyun asked one evening on the observation deck. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. Outside the window, a nebula glowed in shades of purple and pink, beautiful and distant. "My father arranged it," she said finally. "He wanted me to broaden my perspectives, see other species, understand how they think." "That sounds reasonable." "It sounds reasonable because he made it sound reasonable. The truth is different." "What's the truth?" She turned to look at him. Her violet eyes were dark with emotion. "He sent me away because I asked too many questions. About our customs, about our traditions, about why we do things the way we do." "Is asking questions bad? For a Valorian noble daughter?" "Yes." She looked back at the nebula. "We are supposed to accept, to obey, to follow the path that was chosen for us before we were born." Do-hyun thought about his own parents, their disappointment when he chose space over stability, their silence that lasted for months before they finally accepted his decision. It was not the same as Yuna's situation, but he understood the weight of expectations. "I'm sorry," he said. "Don't be. Being sent away was the best thing that happened to me." A small smile crossed her face. "I met humans, strange creatures who poison themselves with caffeine and change color when embarrassed, creatures who leave their home planets because of curiosity. We're not that strange. You are exactly that strange, and I find it wonderful." The moment stretched between them, warm and comfortable. Do-hyun felt something shift in his chest. Something important. Then the ship's alarm began to scream. Red lights flashed throughout the observation deck. The alarm was loud and harsh, cutting through the peaceful silence like a knife. "What's happening?" Yuna asked, standing up quickly. Do-hyun was already moving toward the door. "I don't know. That alarm means we have incoming ships." They ran to the bridge. Captain Bor was already there, standing at the central console with her hands clasped behind her back. Her face was grim. "Report," she said to the navigation officer. "One ship, Captain. Valorian design. It dropped out of faster-than-light travel 2 minutes ago and is approaching us. Doyun looked at Yuna. Her face had gone pale. Her silver-blue skin looked almost white. "Can you identify the ship?" Captain Bora asked. "Yes, Captain. It's registered to the Valorian Diplomatic Corps. Ship name? Eternal Light. It belongs to—" The navigation officer paused. "High Ambassador Unathi Kara." The bridge went silent. Everyone turned to look at Yuna. "My father," she said quietly. Her voice was flat, empty. Captain Bora's expression did not change. "Open a communication channel." The main screen flickered. Then a face appeared. Male, Valorian, tall and angular with silver-white hair, and eyes the same violet as Yuna's. But where Yuna's eyes were warm with curiosity, this Valorian's eyes were cold as frozen stone. "Captain Bora of the Horizon's Edge," the Valorian said. His voice was smooth and sharp. "I am High Ambassador Unathi Kara. I believe you have my daughter aboard your vessel." "Ambassador," Captain Bora nodded politely. "We were not expecting you." "No, I imagine you were not. I have concluded business earlier than planned. I am here to collect Yunathira and return her home." Do-Yun felt his stomach drop. He looked at Yuna. She was staring at her father's face on the screen. Her hands were clenched at her sides. "Yuna is a valued member of our crew," Captain Bora said. "She has 3 months remaining on her assignment. Her assignment is concluded. I have decided she has learned enough about inferior species." The ambassador's eyes swept across the bridge, dismissing everyone with a glance. His gaze stopped briefly on Do-Hyun, then moved on without interest. "We will dock in 1 hour. Prepare for our arrival." The screen went dark. The bridge remained silent for a moment. Then Captain Bora turned to Yuna. "Is there something you want to tell me?" she asked. Yuna's jaw tightened. "My father. He controls everything. Where I go, what I do, who I meet. And why is he really here? Because—" Yuna closed her eyes. When she opened them again, they were bright with tears she refused to let fall. "Because my marriage contract is being finalized. My father has chosen a husband for me. Lord Valoran of the Third House. The wedding is in 6 months." The word hit Do-Yun like a physical blow. Marriage, husband, wedding. "You're engaged?" he heard himself ask. "Not by choice." Yuna's voice was bitter. "Valorian nobles do not marry for love. We marry for power, for alliances, for political advantage." "But you don't want to marry this person." "What I want has never mattered." Captain Bora raised her hand, stopping the conversation. "We will discuss this later. For now, prepare for the ambassador's arrival. Yuna, you should probably change into something more formal. Do-Yun, don't you have repairs to finish in Sector 7? It was a dismissal. Do-Yun knew it was a dismissal, but he could not make himself move. He stood there looking at Yuna, wanting to say something, anything. "Go," Yuna said softly. "There's nothing you can do." He went, but he did not go to Sector 7. He went to the observation deck and stood alone, staring at the Valorian ship through the window. It was beautiful, silver and elegant, like Yuna herself, and it had come to take her away. Marriage contract. The words echoed in his head. Political alliance. Chosen husband. He thought about all the conversations they had shared, all the questions and answers. The way her eyes lit up when she discovered something new about humans. The way she laughed at his embarrassment. The way she said wonderful when describing human strangeness. He thought about how empty the ship would feel without her. "You're in trouble," said a voice behind him. Jiwoo walked up to stand beside him. She looked at the Valorian ship and shook her head. "I'm not in trouble," Do-Yun said. "You have feelings for her, and she's about to be married off to some alien lord. That sounds like trouble to me." "I don't have feelings for her. Do-Yun, I've seen how you look at her. I've seen how she looks at you. Something is happening between you two, and now her father's here to stop it." "Nothing is happening. We're just friends." Jiwoo put her hand on his shoulder. Her expression was unusually serious. "Then why do you look like your heart is breaking?" Do-Yun had no answer. He watched the Valorian ship grow larger as it approached. 1 hour later, High Ambassador Unathikara walked onto the horizon's edge. His delegation followed behind him. 6 Valorians, all dressed in flowing silver robes, all looking at the ship's crew like they were looking at insects. Do-Yun watched from a distance as Yuna greeted her father. She was wearing a formal Valorian dress now, silver and blue matching her skin. She looked beautiful and distant, and nothing like the curious woman who asked about caffeine and palm lines. "Daughter," the ambassador said. "Father," Yuna replied. They did not embrace. They did not smile. They barely looked at each other. And Do-Hyun understood for the first time what Yuna meant when she said Valorians were not free. Captain Bora insisted on hosting a diplomatic dinner. "It is protocol," she said when the crew complained. "When a high ambassador visits, we show respect. We serve food. We make conversation. We do not start incidents." The last part was directed at Do-Hyun. He pretended not to notice. The dinner was held in the ship's conference room, the largest room on the vessel, usually used for meetings about cargo and routes. Now it was decorated with flowers and lights. Tables were set with the finest dishes the ship's kitchen could produce. The human crew members were required to attend. Do-Yun stood near the back wall, wearing his cleanest uniform, trying to become invisible. It was not working. He kept catching Ambassador Yuna Thikara's cold eyes watching him. Yuna sat beside her father at the head table. She looked like a statue, beautiful and frozen and unreachable. She had not spoken to Do-Yun since the ambassador arrived. She had not even looked at him. The dinner started with small talk. Captain Bora discussed trade routes. The ambassador discussed Valorian politics. Other crew members nodded politely and pretended to understand. Then the conversation turned to humans. "A young species," Ambassador Yunathikara said, swirling his drink. The liquid inside glowed faintly green. "Passionate, certainly, but lacking in sophistication." Captain Bora's eye twitched slightly. "Humans have achieved much in a short time. Yes, yes, your technology is adequate. You have learned to travel between stars. Impressive for a species that was still fighting with sticks a few thousand years ago." The ambassador smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "But culturally, artistically, you are children playing at civilization." The room went quiet. Do-Yun felt heat rising in his chest. He saw Jiwoo's hands tighten around her glass. "With respect, Ambassador," Captain Bora said carefully, "human adaptability has proven valuable to the galactic community. Our engineers have solved problems that confused other species for centuries. Mechanical aptitude. Yes, humans make adequate laborers." The ambassador's voice dripped with condescension. "But tell me, Captain, what great art has humanity produced? What philosophical breakthroughs? What lasting contributions to galactic culture?" "Father," Yuna's voice was sharp, "that is unfair." "Is it?" The ambassador looked at his daughter with raised eyebrows. "You have spent months among these creatures. Surely you have formed an opinion? Are humans our equals? Or are they simply useful tools?" The question hung in the air like poison. Yuna's jaw tightened. "Humans are more than you give them credit for." "Really?" The ambassador gestured toward the back of the room, toward Do-Hyun. "This one, for instance, I am told he is a maintenance worker. He fixes broken pipes and sparking wires. Tell me, what grand contribution has he made to the universe?" Every eye in the room turned to Do-Hyun. He should stay quiet. He knew he should stay quiet. Captain Bora was giving him a look that clearly said, "Do not make this worse." The smart thing was to let the insult pass, to nod politely and blend back into the wall. But Do-Hyun thought about Yuna, about her curiosity and her questions and her wonder at human strangeness. He thought about how she said "wonderful" like it was the highest compliment. He thought about the sadness in her eyes when she talked about freedom, and something inside him snapped. "I fixed your daughter's translation matrix last week," he said. The room went silent. The ambassador's eyes narrowed. 3 Valorian technicians could not figure out why it was glitching, Do-Hyun continued. His voice was steady despite his pounding heart. "The crystal alignment was off by 2 degrees. A human would notice it immediately because we're used to looking for small imperfections. Your technicians couldn't see it because they expected everything to work perfectly." "And this impresses you?" The ambassador's voice was cold. "No. What impresses me is that before that, I rerouted the entire navigation system after a solar flare fried the primary circuits. Doyun stepped forward, away from the safety of the wall. Your species designed those circuits, by the way. They were elegant and efficient, but they had no backup system, no failsafe, because Valorians don't plan for failure. You expect everything to work as intended. We expect excellence. You expect perfection. And when something goes wrong, you don't know how to adapt. Doyun was walking toward the head table now. He could feel everyone staring at him. He did not care. Humans fail all the time. We make mistakes constantly, but we learn from them. We improvise. We find new solutions. He stopped a few meters from the ambassador's seat. Humans might be young, Doyun said. We might be loud and emotional and sometimes illogical, but we don't measure someone's worth by their job title. We don't decide a person's value based on their family name or their political connections. He looked at Yuna then, really looked at her, and for the first time since her father arrived, she looked back. We measure worth by how people treat others, Do-hyun said, by kindness, by courage, by the choices they make when no one is watching. The silence stretched for what felt like hours. The ambassador's face was unreadable. Around the room, crew members held their breath. Then Yuna did something unexpected. She laughed. It was not a polite laugh or a nervous laugh. It was a real laugh, bright and genuine, filling the room with sound. The same laugh Do-hyun had heard in the corridor months ago after his accidental touch. "Oh, father," she said, still smiling, "you have so much to learn about humans?" The ambassador's cold expression cracked slightly. "Yuna Thira, this is exactly what I've been telling you." Yuna stood up from her seat. Humans are not inferior. They are different. They feel deeply and act boldly and challenge authority when they believe it is wrong. That is not a virtue. Perhaps not to Valorians, but to me, she walked around the table to stand beside Do-hyun. To me, it is wonderful. The room erupted into whispers. Jiwoo was grinning widely. Captain Bora looked like she wanted to both applaud and throw Do-hyun out an airlock. The ambassador rose slowly from his seat. He was tall, taller than Yuna, and his presence seemed to fill the room with cold pressure. "This is precisely why you needed to come home," he said. "You have spent too much time among these creatures. Their emotional thinking has corrupted you. Or perhaps their emotional thinking has freed me. Freedom is a human concept. Valorians understand duty." "Duty?" Yuna's voice hardened. "Duty to what? To a marriage I did not choose? To a husband I have never met? To a life where I am nothing but a political tool? You are the daughter of a high ambassador. Your marriage to Lord Velerin will unite two of the most powerful houses in our civilization. This is your purpose. Maybe I want a different purpose." Father and daughter stared at each other. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Then the ambassador smiled. It was the coldest smile Do-hyun had ever seen. "We will discuss this later," the ambassador said. "In private, away from influences." His eyes flicked to Do-hyun with obvious disgust. "Enjoy your dinner. We depart tomorrow morning." He turned and walked out of the room. His delegation followed silently behind him. The door closed. The tension remained. Yuna stood very still for a moment. Then she turned to Do-hyun. "That was either very brave or very stupid," she said. "Probably both. My father will not forget what you said." "I know. He could make trouble for you, for this entire ship. I know that too." She stared at him with those violet eyes. Something moved in their depths, something warm and sad and complicated. "Why did you do it?" she asked quietly. "Why risk so much?" Do-hyun thought about all the reasons he could give. Defending humanity's honor, standing up against arrogance, proving that humans were not inferior. All of those reasons were true, but they were not the whole truth. "Because he was wrong about you," Do-hyun said. "He talked about you like you were property, like your only value was what alliance your marriage could create. And I couldn't just stand there and let him reduce you to that." Yuna's breath caught slightly. Her hand reached out and touched his arm. "Thank you," she whispered. Around them, the dinner continued awkwardly. People talked in low voices and avoided looking at the strange human and the rebellious Valorian standing together in the middle of the room. But Do-hyun did not notice any of it. He only noticed the warmth of her hand on his arm and the way her violet eyes shone with something that looked a lot like hope. The Valorian delegation did not depart the next morning. Ambassador Yunathikari announced that there were technical difficulties with his ship. It would take several days to repair. In reality, Dohyun suspected the ambassador wanted more time to convince Yuna to obey. But something had changed. Yuna no longer wore the frozen mask she had put on when her father arrived. She moved through the ship with her head held high. She asked questions again. She smiled again. She looked at Do-hyun with eyes that held more than curiosity. The ambassador noticed. He was not pleased. "You are making things worse," Captain Bora told Do-hyun one afternoon. They were in her office, a small room near the bridge filled with star charts and old books. "The ambassador has filed 3 complaints about you. He wants you removed from the ship." "Can he do that?" "Not legally, but he has influence. Valorians control major trade routes. If he decides to make trouble for us—" She sighed and rubbed her temples. "What exactly is happening between you and Yuna?" "Nothing. We're just friends." "Dohyun, I've been a starship captain for 20 years. I know what just friends looks like. This is not that." He had no good response. He stood in silence, staring at the star chart on the wall. "I'm not telling you what to do," Captain Bora said finally. "You're an adult. Yuna is an adult. Whatever happens between you is your business." She paused. "But you should know that the ambassador has given Yuna 1 month to finish her research. Then she must return home for her wedding." 1 month. 30 days. It was not enough time. It would never be enough time. That night, Do-hyun found Yuna on the observation deck. She was sitting on their usual bench, staring out at the stars. Her silver-blue skin glowed faintly in the dim light. "Captain Bora told you?" Yuna said without turning around. "Yes." "I have 1 month." "Yes." She was silent for a moment. Then she moved over slightly, making room for him on the bench. He sat down beside her. "Do you want to marry this Lord Valoran?" Do-hyun asked. "Want is not a concept Valorians typically apply to political arrangements." "That's not an answer." She turned to face him. In the starlight, her violet eyes looked deep enough to drown in. "When I was young," she said slowly, "I was taught that duty matters more than desire, that personal happiness is selfish, that a good Valorian serves their family, their house, their civilization. I believed this. I accepted it. I never questioned it. What changed? I came to this ship. I met humans." A small smile touched her lips. "I met a human who fell into me in a corridor and could not form complete sentences for embarrassment. Anyone would have reacted that way. Perhaps, but it was the most endearing thing I had ever witnessed." She reached out and took his hand, her cool fingers wrapped around his warm ones. "You showed me something, Do-hyun. You showed me that it is possible to choose your own path, to leave behind what is expected and reach for what is wanted. I just fix broken pipes. You do much more than that." She squeezed his hand gently. "When my father insulted humanity, you stood up. You spoke truth to power. You risked everything to defend not just your species, but me. Yuna, I have lived for 93 years. In all that time, no one has ever defended me. No one has ever thought I was worth the risk." Her voice trembled slightly. "Do you know how rare that is? Do you know what it means to me?" Do-hyun felt his heart pounding in his chest. He looked at their joined hands, human and Valorian, warm and cool, different in so many ways. "What do you want?" he asked. "Not what you're supposed to want. Not what your father wants. What do you want?" Yuna was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. "I want to keep asking questions. I want to keep learning about humans and their strange customs. I want to drink coffee even though it's poison. I want to stay up late watching stars and talking about nothing important." She moved closer, her forehead nearly touching his. "I want to know what happens next in this story, between you and me. Yuna, I'm just a technician. I have nothing to offer you. No power, no connections, no political advantage." "I know," she smiled. "That is why I trust you." She kissed him then, soft and gentle and questioning. Her lips were cool against his warm ones. Different, strange, and somehow exactly right. When they separated, Do-hyun's head was spinning. He could feel his heart racing. His face was probably bright red, but for once, he did not care. "What do we do now?" he asked. "I don't know." Yuna looked out at the stars. "My father will never accept this. He will never allow me to choose a human over a Valorian lord." "Then we have to change his mind." "You cannot change a mountain by wishing it would move." "No, but you can climb over it, or go around it, or dig through it." Do-Yun squeezed her hand. "Humans are good at finding ways through impossible obstacles. It's what we do." Yuna laughed softly. "There you go again. Being wonderful. I'm not trying to be." "I know. That's what makes it wonderful." They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars pass by. Somewhere in the ship, Ambassador Yunathikara was planning how to take his daughter home. Somewhere in the galaxy, Lord Valoran was waiting for his arranged bride. None of that mattered right now. Right now, there was only this moment. This bench, these stars, these two hands, warm and cool, holding on to each other. "I should tell you something," Yuna said after a while. "What?" "When you touched me in the corridor that first day, I knew it was an accident." Do-Yun blinked. "You knew?" "Of course." "The ship shook. You fell forward. It was obvious." She smiled mischievously. "But your reaction was so interesting, so human. I wanted to see what you would do if I pretended not to understand." "You were teasing me?" "I was studying you." "That's even worse." "Perhaps." She leaned against his shoulder, her head resting on him. "But if I had not teased you, we would not have started talking. I would not have learned about humans. I would not have fallen in." She stopped suddenly. Do-Yun's heart nearly stopped with her. "Fallen in what?" Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she looked up at him with those violet eyes full of something deep and warm and terrifying. "Fallen in love," she whispered, "with a strange human who fixes broken pipes and challenges ambassadors." Do-Yun forgot how to breathe. He forgot how to think. He forgot everything except those words and those eyes and the cool warmth of her pressed against him. "I love you too," he said. The words came out before he could stop them, before he could think about whether they were wise or smart or appropriate. They just fell out, honest and simple and true. Yuna's smile was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. "Then we will find a way," she said. "Together." Outside the window, a shooting star blazed across the darkness, brief and bright and full of impossible hope. Do-Yun made a wish. He hoped the universe was listening. Lord Valoran's ship arrived 2 weeks early. Do-Yun was sleeping when the alarm started screaming. Red lights, loud sirens, the sound of emergency that ripped him from dreams of violet eyes and silver skin. He ran to the bridge, still pulling on his boots. The scene on the main screen made his blood run cold. It was not a diplomatic vessel. It was a warship, sleek and black, covered in weapons that gleamed like predators' teeth. It hung in space like a threat, blocking out the stars behind it. "What is that?" someone asked. "That," Captain Bora said grimly, "is the Void Blade, Lord Valoran's personal warship." Yuna stood near the captain's chair. Her face was pale, her hands clenched at her sides. She looked at the warship with the expression of someone seeing a nightmare become real. "He's not here for a wedding," she said quietly. "He's here for a retrieval." "Can you explain?" Captain Bora asked. "Lord Valoran does not ask. He takes. If I refuse to come willingly, he will take me by force." She swallowed hard. "My father must have told him about my resistance, about the human." Everyone on the bridge turned to look at Do-Yun. He felt their eyes like weights pressing down on him. "How dangerous is this Lord Valoran?" he asked. "Very. His house has controlled military forces for 600 years. He has personally led campaigns against rebel planets. He does not negotiate. He conquers." The communication panel beeped. A face appeared on the screen. Lord Valoran was not what Do-Yun expected. He expected someone ugly, someone obviously evil. Instead, Valoran was handsome in the Valorian way, tall and angular, with perfect silver hair and violet eyes that glittered like frozen amethyst. He wore military uniform decorated with medals and honors. He smiled, and Do-Hyun felt ice crawl down his spine. "Horizon's Edge," Valoran said. His voice was smooth and pleasant and utterly terrifying. "I am here to collect my betrothed. Surrender her immediately." Captain Bora stepped forward. Lord Valoran, you are in neutral space. You have no authority here. I have 100 cannons pointed at your ship. That is all the authority I need. Valoran's smile widened. I know you are hiding Unathera. I know she has been corrupted by human influence. This will be corrected. I won't go with you. Yuna's voice was steady despite the fear in her eyes. I released myself from the marriage contract. You do not have that right. The contract was signed by your father. It is binding. Valoran's pleasant mask slipped slightly, showing something cold and cruel beneath. You belong to me, Unathera. Your feelings are irrelevant. She belongs to no one. Doyun stepped forward before he could stop himself. She's a person, not property. Valoran's eyes focused on Doyun for the first time. Ah, the human. I have heard about you. His lip curled with disgust. A maintenance worker who dared to touch what is mine. I didn't. Silence. Valoran raised his hand. On the screen behind him, Doyun could see weapons on the warship powering up, glowing with deadly energy. I will give you 1 hour to deliver Unathera. If you refuse, I will destroy your ship and take her from the wreckage. The screen went dark. Panic erupted on the bridge. Crew members shouted. Officers called out damage reports and weapon statuses. Captain Bora's voice cut through the chaos. Quiet! Everyone quiet! The bridge fell silent. What are our options? Captain Bora asked her tactical officer. Limited, Captain. We're outgunned 10-1. Our shields might hold against 2 or 3 shots. After that, he didn't need to finish. What about running? His ship is faster. He'd catch us before we could reach any station. Yuna stepped forward. I should go, before anyone gets hurt. I knew this would end badly. I was foolish to think. No, Doyun grabbed her arm. We're not giving up. There has to be another way. What way? Look at his ship. Look at ours. This is not a fight we can win. Then we don't fight. Doyun's mind was racing. We make him back down. How? We're in neutral space. If he fires on us without provocation, it's an act of war. The Galactic Council would have to respond. He doesn't care about the Council. Maybe not, but he cares about witnesses. Dohyun turned to Captain Bora. What if we weren't alone? What if there were other ships watching? Captain Bora's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. What do you have in mind? Jiwoo spoke up from her console. I might have an idea about that. The next hour was the most intense of Dohyun's life. Jiwoo modified the ship's communication systems. She boosted the signal strength, creating a broadcast that could reach every ship within 3 light years. She also set up a recording system that would capture everything Valoran did and transmit it to neutral stations. Do-hyun and the engineering team worked on the shields. They couldn't make them stronger, but they could create a visual distortion field, a trick of light and energy that would make it look like there were more ships than there really were. Captain Bora sent priority messages to every human vessel in range, a distress call dressed up in diplomatic language. 45 minutes passed, then 50, then 55. Ships approaching, the navigation officer announced. Multiple contacts. They're coming out of faster-than-light travel. On the screen, the blackness of space began to shimmer. Points of light appeared. 1, 2, 5, 12. 12 human ships emerged from the void. Cargo vessels and patrol boats and trading ships. Small ships. Old ships. But ships nonetheless, forming a protective formation around the horizon's edge. Valoran's face appeared on the screen again. He looked less pleased than before. What is the meaning of this? This is Captain Hyori of the Soul's Pride. A voice crackled over the communication channel. You are currently threatening a human-registered vessel in neutral space. Is there a problem? This is a Valorian internal matter. Leave now. Funny thing about humans, Captain Boris said, smiling for the first time. We don't like seeing our people threatened. And as of 3 months ago, Yuna requested and was granted provisional human citizenship. The words hit Valoran like a slap. What? Dohyun stared at Yuna. You did. After the dinner, she said quietly. After you defended me. I applied that night. Captain Bora approved it the next morning. She's not your citizen, Valoran snarled. She is promised to me by sacred contract. Sacred contracts don't override galactic rights. Yuna stepped forward. her voice growing stronger. Under Article 7 of the Galactic Rights Convention, any sentient being has the right to choose their own citizenship, their own path, their own life. You would throw away your heritage for these insects? I would throw away any heritage that treats me like property. Valoran's face twisted with rage. For a terrible moment, Doyun thought he would attack anyway. Rules and witnesses be damned. Then another ship appeared. Ambassador Unathikara's diplomatic vessel dropped out of faster-than-light travel, positioning itself between the warship and the human fleet. Lord Valoran, the ambassador's voice came through the communication channel, cold and formal. Stand down. Ambassador, your daughter is making her own choices, as is her right. There was something different in the ambassador's voice, something almost like respect. I have received reports of what occurred on the horizon's edge, the human who spoke for my daughter, the crew who protected her. I was wrong to dismiss them so quickly. You're taking their side? I am taking my daughter's side, for the first time in her life perhaps. The ambassador's ship moved slightly, weapons powering up. Leave, Valoran. The marriage contract is void. There will be no alliance between our houses. The standoff lasted another agonizing minute. Then slowly, Valoran's warship began to retreat. This isn't over, he snarled at the screen. You will regret this, all of you. His image disappeared. His ship turned and vanished into faster-than-light travel. The bridge erupted in cheers. Crew members hugged each other. Someone was crying with relief. Yuna threw her arms around Do-hyun. He held her tight, feeling her cool body pressed against his warm one. Different but perfect. We did it, she whispered. We actually did it. We did it together, Do-hyun said. Humans and one very brave Valorian. On the screen, Ambassador Unathikara's face appeared one more time. He looked at his daughter. For the first time, his cold expression softened slightly. Be happy, Unathira, he said. Perhaps that is worth more than political power after all. The screen went dark. Yuna smiled through her tears, and Do-hyun knew that somehow, impossibly, everything was going to be okay. 6 months had passed since the confrontation with Lord Valoran. The Horizon's Edge continued its journey through the stars, carrying cargo between planets and stations. But everything else had changed. Yuna was no longer a temporary cultural liaison officer. She was now a permanent member of the crew. Captain Bora had created a new position for her. Diplomatic coordinator. Her job was to help the ship navigate the complicated politics of different species. She was very good at it. Do-hyun was still a technician. He still fixed broken pipes and sparking wires. But now he had a partner who brought him coffee during long repair shifts and asked questions about human tools and techniques. Why do you use tape for everything? Yuna asked one afternoon in the engineering bay. She was watching Do-hyun wrap tape around a leaking pipe. Surely there are better solutions. Tape is simple. Tape is reliable. Tape has saved human civilization more times than people realize. This seems exaggerated. Ask any human engineer. They'll tell you the same thing. Yuna shook her head, but she was smiling. After 6 months, she had learned many things about humans. She had learned that they used humor to handle stress, that they formed deep attachments to small comforts like coffee and tape, that they never ever gave up. She had also learned what it felt like to be truly happy. The ship entered the Sol system 2 weeks later. Do-hyun watched through the observation deck window as the blue-green planet grew larger. Earth, home. Nervous? Yuna asked, slipping her hand into his. Terrified. You're about to meet my parents. They cannot be more intimidating than a Valorian ambassador. You haven't met my mother. She's been asking about grandchildren since I turned 20. Yuna laughed. That bright, genuine sound that Do-hyun had come to treasure more than anything in the universe. I should inform her that Valorians have a gestational period of 18 Earth months. That should give us time. Time for what? To figure out what we're doing. She squeezed his hand. I still have much to learn about being human. You're not becoming human. You're becoming yourself. Is that not the same thing? She turned to look at him with those violet eyes. When I met you, I did not know who I was outside of my family's expectations. Now I do. You taught me that. I just fell into you in a corridor. And everything changed. She leaned against his shoulder. Do you remember what I said that day? Do it again, human. I was being mischievous, testing you. But now, she looked up at him with a soft smile. Now I find myself wanting you to stay close forever. Doyun felt his face growing warm. After 6 months, Yuna still had that effect on him. He suspected she always would. The shuttle ride down to Earth was bumpy. Doyun held Yuna's hand the entire way. She looked out the window at the clouds and oceans and continents with wide eyes. This was her first time on a planet with so much water. Valorian worlds were mostly desert. It's beautiful, she whispered. Wait until you see Korea. They landed in Seoul. The city was bright and busy, full of humans rushing around in their strange human ways. Yuna attracted stares. A tall, silver-blue alien walking through the streets was unusual, even in a time when aliens visited Earth regularly. Do-hyun's parents lived in an apartment building in a quiet neighborhood. His mother was waiting at the door when they arrived. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that reminded Do-hyun of Captain Bora. "You must be Yuna," his mother said. She looked the alien up and down with the critical eye of a mother evaluating her son's choices. "Yes." Yuna bowed slightly, a human greeting she had practiced. "It is an honor to meet you. You're very tall. This is normal for my species. And your skin is blue. Also normal." Do-hyun's mother was silent for a long moment. Then her face broke into a smile. "Well, at least you're polite. Come in, come in. I've made food. Can Valorians eat Korean food? I am eager to find out." The dinner was awkward at first. Do-hyun's father sat at the table looking confused. His mother asked questions without waiting for answers. Yuna tried human food for the first time and made faces that made everyone laugh. "This is spicy," she said, drinking water quickly. "That's mild," Do-hyun's mother replied. "Wait until you try the real kimchi." But as the evening continued, the awkwardness faded. Yuna asked questions about the family's history. Do-hyun's parents asked questions about Valorian culture. Stories were shared. Laughter filled the room. At one point, Do-hyun looked around the table at his parents and his alien girlfriend and felt his heart overflow with something warm and full. This was family, strange and different and perfect. Later that night, Do-hyun and Yuna walked through the neighborhood streets. The moon was full, casting silver light over the buildings and trees. It reminded Do-hyun of Yuna's skin. "Your parents are wonderful," Yuna said. "They like you." "How can you tell?" "My mother gave you extra food. That's her highest form of approval." Yuna laughed. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, enjoying the cool night air. Eventually, they stopped at a small park with a bench overlooking the city lights. "I have been thinking," Yuna said as they sat down. "About what?" "About the future. About what comes next." She turned to face him, her violet eyes serious. "When I was young, my future was already decided. Marriage, politics, duty. Now I have no plan. For the first time in 93 years, I am free to choose my own path." "Does that scare you?" "Yes," she smiled. "But it also excites me. I want to see more of your planet, meet more humans, learn more customs, and I want to do it all with you." Do-hyun's heart beat faster. "Yuna, I know we are different. I know there will be challenges. A Valorian and a human. This is not a traditional match." She reached out and cupped his face in her cool hands. "But I have learned something from your species. Something important." "What?" "That love is not logical. It does not follow rules or make sense. It simply is. And when you find it, you hold on to it. No matter how strange or difficult the path ahead might be." Do-hyun pulled her close and kissed her. Warm and cool, human and Valorian, different and perfect. When they separated, Yuna was smiling that mischievous smile he loved so much. "Also," she said, her eyes sparkling, "I have decided that I quite enjoy human greeting customs after all. We really need to talk about what counts as a greeting." She silenced him with another kiss. Around them, the city lights sparkled like stars fallen to earth. Above them, real stars shone in the darkness, countless worlds waiting to be explored. Do-hyun did not know what the future held. He did not know where their journey would take them. But he knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever came next, they would face it together. A human who fixed broken things, and a Valorian who questioned everything. An accident in a corridor that changed two lives forever. Sometimes the greatest adventures began with the smallest mistakes. Sometimes falling led to flying. And sometimes the universe had a way of bringing together exactly the right people at exactly the right time. Doyun looked at Yuna, silver blue in the moonlight, and smiled. This was just the beginning.